Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when everything around you begins to shift. The things that once felt familiar begin to change. Doors that once seemed permanently closed begin to open, and paths that once looked clear suddenly lead somewhere new. In those moments, many people feel confused, uncertain, even afraid. But what if those changes are not accidents? What if those moments are actually signals that something greater is unfolding in your life? There are seasons in every life. Just as nature moves from winter to spring, from summer to harvest, your life also moves through seasons designed by God. Some seasons are quiet, some seasons are difficult, some seasons stretch your patience and test your faith, but every season has a purpose. Nothing is wasted in the hands of God. Right now, many people feel a stirring deep inside their hearts. They cannot fully explain it, but they sense that something is changing. The old ways are no longer satisfying. The routines that once felt comfortable now feel limiting. There's a quiet voice within saying, "Get ready. Something new is coming." That voice is not your imagination. It is the call of God inviting you into a new season. But here is the truth that many people overlook. A new season always requires preparation. God never moves His people forward without first preparing their hearts. Before the promise arrives, there is always a period of preparation. Before the blessing is visible, there is often a season of quiet work happening beneath the surface. Preparation is not always comfortable. Sometimes it means letting go of things that once felt safe. Sometimes it means walking away from habits, attitudes, or even relationships that no longer belong in the future. God is leading you toward. When God calls you into a new season, He is not only changing your circumstances, He is shaping you into the person who can walk confidently in that season. Many people pray for new opportunities, greater influence, deeper purpose, and stronger faith. But when God begins a process of preparation, they become discouraged because it often looks like challenge, delay, or uncertainty. Yet those moments are not signs that God has forgotten you. They are evidence that He is working in ways you cannot yet see. Think about the times in your life when you grew the most. It was rarely during the easy seasons. Growth often came through moments that required courage, patience, and trust. Those experiences strengthened your character. They refined your perspective. They prepared you for responsibilities you could not have carried before. God sees the end from the beginning. He knows exactly where He is leading you, even when you cannot see the full picture. That is why preparation is so important. If the blessing arrived before you were ready, it could overwhelm you instead of elevating you. The preparation ensures that when the door opens, you have the wisdom, the strength, and the faith to walk through it. Sometimes preparation means learning to trust God more deeply than ever before. It means choosing faith even when circumstances appear uncertain. It means believing that God is still working even when the evidence has not yet appeared. Faith grows strongest when it is exercised during the waiting. During these moments, it is important to listen carefully to the voice of God. He often speaks quietly, guiding your thoughts, shaping your decisions, and placing a sense of direction in your heart. The world around you may be loud and distracting, but the voice of God is steady and faithful. When you take time to seek Him, clarity begins to replace confusion. Another important part of preparation is obedience. Sometimes God asks you to take steps that do not immediately make sense. He may ask you to move forward before you feel fully ready. He may ask you to release something you have been holding on to for years. Obedience in those moments opens the door for God's greater plans. You may not understand every step of the journey, but you do not need to understand everything in order to move forward. You simply need the willingness to trust the one who is guiding you. When you surrender your plans to God, He aligns your path with His purpose. There are people listening right now who feel like they have been in a long season of waiting. Perhaps you have prayed for change. Perhaps you have prayed for change. Perhaps you have asked God for direction, opportunity, or restoration. And for a long time it seemed like nothing was happening. But what you could not see was the quiet work taking place behind the scenes. God was strengthening your faith. He was refining your character. He was aligning circumstances in ways you could never arrange on your own. The waiting season was not wasted. It was preparation for the moment when everything begins to shift. When God calls you into a new season, He often places new vision in your heart. You begin to see possibilities that you never considered before. You feel a renewed sense of purpose. You realize that your life is meant for something greater than routine and survival. You were created to live with meaning, to influence others, and to walk in the plans God designed specifically for you. But stepping into a new season requires courage. It requires the willingness to leave behind what is familiar in order to embrace what is possible. Fear may try to convince you that you are not ready, that you are not ready, that you are not capable, or that the future is too uncertain. Yet fear does not come from God. God's voice brings peace, direction, and confidence. When you trust Him, you begin to see obstacles differ. Endly, what once looked like barriers become stepping stones. What once felt like setbacks become preparation. Every experience begins to shape you for the journey ahead. You may not know exactly what the next season holds, but you can be certain of this. God never calls you forward without walking with you. His guidance is constant. His wisdom is available. His strength becomes your strength when you depend on Him. The key is to remain attentive, faithful, and willing. Continue seeking God daily. Continue aligning your heart with His will. Continue preparing your mind and spirit for the opportunities ahead. When the moment arrives, you will recognize it because your heart will already be prepared. And when that new season unfolds, you will look back and realize that every challenge, every delay, and every moment of uncertainty was leading you towards something greater than you ever imagined. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most important truths to understand about life is that it moves through seasons. Nothing in this world remains the same forever. Just as the earth moves from winter to spring, from summer to harvest, our lives also pass through seasons that shape us, stretch us, and prepare us for what lies ahead. Many people become discouraged when things begin to change, but change is often the very evidence that God is at work. Think about how nature works. During winter, the trees appear lifeless, the branches are bare, the air is cold, and everything seems quiet and still. If someone looked only at that moon, knit, they might believe that the tree has lost its purpose. But beneath the surface, something remarkable is happening. The roots are still alive. The tree is gathering strength, preparing itself for the moment when spring arrives and new life begins to appear. Our lives often follow that same pattern. There are seasons when everything feels active and reductive. Doors are opening, opportunities are appearing, and progress seems visible everywhere. But there are also seasons that feel slow and uncertain. In those moments, it can feel as though nothing is moving forward. Yet the truth is that God is still working, even when the process is hidden beneath the surface. Many people struggle during these quieter seasons because they misunderstand their purpose. When life becomes difficult or when progress seems delayed, they assume that something has gone wrong. They begin to question their direction, their faith, and even their worth. But those seasons are not meant to destroy you. They are meant to develop you. There are times when God allows a season of waiting so that deeper growth can take place within you. Character cannot be built overnight. Wisdom does not appear instantly. Strength of faith grows through experiences that require patience and trust. When you face challenges and continue to believe that God is guiding your life, your faith becomes stronger than it was before. Every season carries a lesson that prepares you for the next stage of your journey. The difficulties you face today may be equipping you with the strength you will need tomorrow. The obstacles you encounter may be teaching you perseverance, discipline, and humility. Those qualities become the foundation that allows you to stand firm when greater responsibilities come your way. Sometimes people want to skip the difficult seasons and move directly into the season of success or fulfillment. Boo. Teod understands that each stage has a purpose, just as a seed must spend time growing beneath the soil before it becomes a strong plant. Your life also requires seasons of hidden growth. If the process were rushed, the foundation would be weak. Another reason seasons change is because God often uses them to redirect our focus. There are times when we become comfortable with routines that limit our potential. We settle into patterns that feel safe. but keep us from moving toward the greater purpose God has prepared. When that happens, God may allow circumstances to shift so that we begin seeking Him more deeply. A difficult season often causes people to pause and reflect. They begin to ask questions they never considered before. They begin to search for wisdom, guidance, and meaning. In those moments, God gently draws their hearts closer to Him. What initially looked like a setback becomes the doorway to a deeper relationship with the one who created them. It is also important to remember that no season lasts forever. The challenges you face today are not permanent. The struggles that seem overwhelming right now will not define your entire story. Just as winter eventually gives way to spring, the difficult moments in life eventually lead to new beginnings. Faith becomes especially powerful during seasons of uncertainty. When you choose to trust God even when you cannot see the outcome, you are building a confidence that cannot be shaken by circumstances. That trust allows you to remain steady while others become discouraged. During changing seasons, it is helpful to pay attention to what God may be teaching you. Instead of focusing only on the difficulty, consider the growth that is taking place within your heart. Perhaps you are learning patience in ways you never did before. Perhaps you are discovering strength you did not realize you possessed. Perhaps you are developing compassion and understanding that will allow you to help others in the future. God often uses personal experiences to prepare people for greater influence. The lessons you learn in one season may become the encouragement someone else needs later. When you walk through a challenge and remain faithful, your story becomes a source of hope for others who face similar struggles. There are also seasons when God opens new opportunities that require courage. When those moments arrive, the preparation from previous seasons becomes clear. You realize that every lesson, every challenge, and every experience was shaping you for this moment. People who understand the rhythm of seasons approach life differently. They do not panic when difficulties appear, and they do not become prideful when success arrives. Instead, they recognize that each season carries a purpose designed by God. They remain humble during times of growth and faithful during times of waiting. When you understand that God guides the seasons of your life, you begin to see change through a new perspective. Instead of fearing it, you learn to trust that it may be leading you towards something greater. Even when the path is not completely visible, you can move forward with confidence, knowing that the one who designed your life also directs its seasons. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest truths about the way God works in our lives is that preparation always comes before the blessing. Many people pray for greater opportunities, bigger responsibilities, and powerful breakthroughs, but they often overlook the quiet process that must take place before those things arrive. God understands something we sometimes forget. If the blessing arrives before the person is ready, it can become a burden instead of a gift. Preparation is the way God strengthens your character so that you can carry the future He had designed for you. It is the process through which your faith deepens, your perspective matures, and your trust in God becomes stronger than your dependence on circumstances. While we often desire immediate results, God is far more concerned about building a strong foundation in our lives. Think about how a builder constructs a tall building. The higher the structure will rise, the deeper and stronger the foundation must be. If someone rushed the process and built the upper floors without securing the base, the entire structure would eventually collapse. In the same way, God carefully builds the foundation of your life before placing greater opportunities upon it. Many people misunderstand the waiting season because they only look at what is visible. They see closed doors, delayed plans, or unexpected challenges, and they assume that progress is stopped. But preparation is often happening in ways that cannot immediately be seen. Beneath the surface, God is shaping your patience, strengthening your discipline, and teaching you lessons that will become essential later in life. During preparation, God often works on the inner life before changing the outer circumstances. He refines these attitudes, corrects motivations, and helps us see life from a clearer perspective. Sometimes we ask God for success while still carrying pride, fear, impatience, or doubt. Preparation is a time when those things are gently removed so that our hearts align with His purpose. One of the most powerful things about preparation is that it develops humility. When people achieve success without going through a refining process, they may begin to believe that everything depends on their own strength or intelligence. But when someone has walked through seasons of waiting and growth, they understand that every opportunity is ultimately a gift from God. Preparation also teaches patience, which is a quality that cannot be learned overnight. Patience grows through experiences where you must trust God, even when the outcome is not immediately clear. When you continue moving forward with faith during those moments, you are developing a resilience that will sustain you when greater challenges arise. There are also times when preparation requires letting go of niggles that once felt comfortable. God may ask you to release habits, relationships, or attitudes that no longer belong in the future. He is preparing for you. This process can feel uncomfortable because it requires change. And change often stretches us beyond what feels familiar. Yet every step of preparation is intentional. God sees the path ahead far more clearly than we do. He knows the opportunities that will appear, the responsibilities that will come, and the influence that may grow from your life. Because He sees that future, He carefully prepares you so that when the moment arrives, you will not be overwhelmed by it. Sometimes preparation comes through challenges that test your faith. These moments reveal what you truly believe about God. When everything is going well, faith can feel easy. But when circumstances become uncertain, your trust in God becomes more meaningful. Each time you choose faith instead of fear, your confidence in God grows stronger. Another important part of preparation is learning to depend on God rather than relying entirely on your own plans. Many people try to control every detail of their lives, believing that success depends only on their efforts. But preparation often includes moments where you realize that your strength alone is not enough. In those moments, you learn to pray more deeply, listen more carefully, and trust more fully. God also uses preparation to develop wisdom. Experiences that once seemed confusing begin to teach valuable lessons. Mistakes become opportune. Unities for growth. Challenges become reminders of the importance of perseverance. Over time, these experiences shape your understanding of life in ways that no classroom could ever teach. The truth is that when the blessing finally arrives, the preparation will suddenly make sense. You will look back and recognize that the waiting season was not wasted time. Every delay was shaping your patience. Every obstacle was strengthening your determination. Every moment of uncertainty was guiding you toward a deeper trust in God. Preparation transforms you into the person who can handle the opportunities ahead with grace and responsibility. Instead of being overwhelmed by success, you will be able to use it wisely. Instead of being discouraged by challenges, you will have the strength to face them with confidence. When you understand this principle, you begin to see the waiting season differently. Instead of becoming frustrated, you begin to appreciate the quiet work God is doing within your life. You realize that preparation is not punishment. It is evidence that God is investing in your future. So whenever you find yourself in a season where progress seems slow, remember that God may be preparing you for something greater than you can currently imagine. The foundation is being strengthened. The character is being refined. The faith is being deepened. And when the moment arrives for the next chapter of your life to begin, you will step forward not with uncertainty, but with the quiet confidence that God has already prepared you for everything that lies ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, stepping into a new season that God has prepared for your life requires two powerful qualities that shape every meaningful journey: faith and obedience. These two elements are inseparable. Faith allows you to believe in what you cannot yet see, and obedience allows you to move forward even way, and the full path has not been revealed. Together, they become the bridge that carries a person from where they are today into the future God has designed for them. Many people desire change in their lives. They pray for new opportunities, new direction, and a fresh beginning. Yet when the moment arrives to take a step forward, fear often appears. The unknown can feel intimidating. Questions begin to rise in the mind. What if I fail? What if I make the wrong decision? What if the path ahead is too difficult? These thoughts can cause people to hesitate, and hesitation often keeps them standing at the edge of the very season God is calling them into. Faith changes the way you respond to those moments. Faith does not mean you have all the answers or that you can clearly see every detail of the future. Faith means you trust the one who is guiding your steps. It means believing that God knows the direction of your life, even when you can only see a small part of the road ahead. When faith is present, uncertainty no longer controls your decisions. One of the remarkable things about faith is that it often begins with small steps. God does not always reveal the entire journey at once. Instead, He invites you to trust Him one step at a time. Each step of faith builds confidence for the next one. As you move forward, you begin to recognize that God has been guiding you all along. Obedience plays an equally important role in entering a new season. Sometimes God places a clear impression in your heart about something you should do. It may be a decision to change direction, a call to pursue a new opportunity, or even a quiet instruction to let go of something that no longer belongs in your life. Obedience means responding to that guidance with action rather than hesitation. There are moments when obedience may not feel easy. It may require courage to walk away from familiar routiness. It may require humility to admit that a change is necessary. It may require trust to move forward without knowing every outcome, yet obedience opens doors that would otherwise remain closed. Many times, people wait for perfect clarity before taking action. They want every detail explained before they move forward, but God often works differently. He invites people to trust in enough to take the first step, knowing that greater clarity will come as they continue walking. When faith and obedience work together, something powerful begins to happen. Fear starts to lose its influence. Doubt begins to fade. Confidence grows, not because of your own strength alone, but because you recognize that God is God, 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 is God. Each act of obedience strengthens your trust that His plans are good and purposeful. Faith also changes the way you view challenges along the journey. Instead of seeing difficulties as signs that something is wrong, you begin to recognize them as opportunities to grow stronger. Obstacles become lessons rather than barriers. They teach resilience, patience, and perseverance. Another important part of faith is learning to listen carefully to the voice of God. In a world filled with distractions, it can be easy to overlook the quiet ways God guides our hearts. Taking time for prayer, reflection, and stillness allows your mind to become clearer and your spirit more attentive. In those moments of quiet, direction often becomes easier to recognize. Obedience also strengthens your relationship with God. Each time you respond to His guidance, you deepen your trust in Him. You begin to experience the peace that comes from knowing you are walking in alignment with His purpose. That peace remains steady, even when circumstances are uncertain. There are also moments when faith requires you to believe in possibilities that others cannot yet see. People around you may not understand the direction you feel called to pursue. They may question your decisions or doubt your vision. In those moments, faith becomes the anchor that keeps you steady. You remember that God placed the vision in your heart for a reason. As you continue walking in faith and obedience, you will eventually look back and realize how every step led you closer to the life God intended for you. Paths that once seemed confusing will suddenly make sense. Connections, opportunities, and experiences will begin to align in ways that could never have been arranged by chance alone. Faith and obedience do not remove every challenge from the journey, but they transform how you experience those challenges. Instead of being controlled by fear, you move forward with courage. Instead of being discouraged by obstacles, you view them as part of the preparation for something greater. The future that God prepares for each person is not reached through comfort alone. It is reached through trust, action, and the willingness to follow His guidance, even when the road ahead is not fully visible. When you live with that kind of faith and obedience, you position yourself to walk confidently into the new season that God has already been preparing for you. Ladies and gentlemen, when you look back over everything we have reflected on, one powerful truth becomes clear. God never moves without purpose. Every season of life carries meaning. Every moment of preparation has value. And every step of faith brings you closer to the future He has designed for you. What may feel confusing today may actually be the beginning of something extraordinary tomorrow. Many people spend their lives waiting for perfect circumstances before they move forward. They wait until they feel completely ready, until every answer is clear, and until every fear disappears. But the truth is that life rarely works that way. God often calls people forward while they are still learning, still growing, and still discovering the strength He has placed inside them. The seasons you have walked through were not random events. The struggles awaiting the lessons and even the disappointments were shaping something within you. They were building the sought courage, wisdom, patience, and faith that will be necessary for the next chapter of your life. Nothing you have experienced has been wasted in the hands of God. When God calls you into a new season, He is not simply changing your circumstances. He is inviting you into a deeper purpose. That purpose may influence more people than you realize. It may open doors that once seemed impossible. It may allow you to bring hope, encouragement, and strength to others who are walking through their own difficult seasons. The key is to trust that God sees far beyond what you can currently see. While you may only see the next step, God sees the entire journey. He knows where the path leads, what opportunities will appear, and how every detail of your life can come together for something meaningful. So instead of fearing change, learn to welcome the new season God is bringing into your life. Instead of resisting the preparation process, allow it to shape you into the person you are meant to become. Instead of doubting your ability to move forward, remember that the same God who calls you forward will also give you the strength to walk the path ahead. When you walk with faith, when you listen with humility, and when you respond with obedience, you begin to see life from a completely different perspective. Challenges no longer define your future, and uncertainty no longer controls your decisions. You move forward with confidence, knowing that your life is guided by a purpose greater than your fears. There may still be moments when the path feels unfamiliar, but those moments are often the very places where growth begins. They are the places where faith becomes stronger, where courage becomes real, and where the plans of God begin to unfold in ways you never expected. So if you sense that something new is beginning in your life, do not ignore that calling. Do not allow fear to silence He voice that is urging you to move forward. Instead, prepare your hearts, strengthen your faith, and trust that God is already working ahead of you. Because when God calls you into a new season, it is never by accident.